Milk, carbohydrates, or late night pudding? What's the secret to eating for a good night's sleep? Level 2. Intermediate. Many of us suffer with bad sleep. Could changing what and when we eat improve our chances of sleeping well? 1. Ask the internet for advice on how to eat for a good night's sleep, and you could lose a whole night trying to find a clear answer. However, dietary habits seem to be an important factor that can make the difference between a good sleep and a bad one. 2. Some of the most useful information on sleep comes from studies of those people who work at night. At CQ University in Adelaide, research psychologist Dr. Charlotte Gupta has been studying how different eating habits affect shift workers' performance. Her most important piece of advice for a good night's sleep is to eat well before bedtime. 3. We're not meant to be digesting food at night, Gupta says. When we eat a meal too close to sleep, the body has to focus on digestion when it should be resting. So we're more likely to wake up during the night, remember our dreams, not get that really good sleep, she says. The ideal is to eat your last food at least 2 hours before going to sleep, which means no snacking on food from the fridge. 4. The size of that final meal can also make a difference. Ideally, we should be having a bigger meal in the middle of the day and a smaller meal in the evening, but not too small. We don't want it to be so small for dinner that you feel really hungry during the night, that your body's going to wake you up and want food, Gupta says. 5. On the question of what to eat for a good night's sleep, the answer is less clear, says nutritionist Dr. Elizabeth Mahon from the University of Sydney. We haven't got any research that has given us the perfect recipe for what the evening meal should be, she says. There's some evidence that high-fat meals are more filling, so in theory people will have more restful sleep, Machan says. But diets high in fat are also associated with shorter sleep. 6. In the same way, despite the popular idea that eating carbs before bedtime is bad, some studies suggest having a meal high in carbohydrates can actually help people get to sleep faster. I think a lot of people avoid carbs in the evening, and that's why they want to eat later in the night, she says. Seven Machan says it's important to include vegetables in that evening meal to help slow digestion. So if you've got a meal that is lower energy, you're not going to wake up in the middle of the night hungry. 8. One of the challenges with understanding the connection between diet and sleep is that it's not easy to separate the two. Studies connecting late meal times with poor sleep are not measuring sleep on one night, but over the past month. I think what it's telling us is that people who don't sleep well are more likely to eat later in the evening, says Dr. Jen Walsh, director of the Center for Sleep Science at the University of Western Australia. One way of looking at it is that eating later means less sleep, but it's also possible that people who don't sleep well eat later. It's possible that people who eat later have poor health in general, she says. 10. Like so many other health stories, good sleep seems to be about a healthy diet and a healthy lifestyle. I say that sleep impacts diet and it also impacts exercise, so really we need to get the sleep right, and it will get everything else right, Walsh says.